Blue Group. I wanted to hop on here and share with you a couple of things that we're going to be doing this week. We're going to be finishing up our fraction units with measuring to the quarter inch and how to organize that information with line plots, and we'll talk more about that later. There is a review on fractions greater than 1, which is what we worked on last week, but the activity that I chose to focus on today is telling time to the minute. There are a couple videos here, including some great BrainPop Junior videos. There's also just some traditional, you want some extra practice, here's some extra practice for you, and there is a really great Nearpod on how clock works and the parts of the clock. So as we're studying our clocks, it's important for us to notice the different parts of the clock, which is why I linked that video here. Last year, you guys were working on telling time to 5 minutes, and you need to be telling time to the exact minute. So we're going to practice a little bit of that today, and I'm going to show you how. Share this image with you guys on Seesaw, but it's how to read a clock. We're going to be reading analog clocks, which are something that we typically don't always do now because we have phones that tell us the digital time, or we look on the computer, or we look on the microwave, and they have those digital times. So it's even our watches now are becoming digital. You guys use those Fitbits and things like that, and those all have digital times. But this is an important skill to still remember and still pay attention to, is knowing the difference between hours and minutes on an analog clock. Our hours are our bigger numbers. They're read as they appear. The minutes are counting, we count them by fives, and then we know that each little tick mark in between is going to be 1 minute. So as our as our minute hand begins to move back towards the 12, our hour hand is also changing. Notice here the hour hand is not, it's kind of in between 4 and 5. Because if we look at this clock, right here, our minute hand is going past, this is our halfway point. If we drew a line right here, we'd have a halfway line, right? So halfway around the clock is 30 minutes. The total is 60 minutes, so we can think of that as a division problem. Since this has gone past the halfway mark, notice the hour hand is going past that 4. It's going towards the 5 because we're getting closer to the next o'clock. You'll notice that the time is 4:38. We can go around 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. We're not quite to 40 yet, so I can either count backwards or I can count forwards here. Usually we'll be doing a lot of practice with this with an actual clock that we can maneuver. It looks just like this. You probably used them last year. And as we move this blue hand, which is our minute hand, which is the longer hand because it has more of them to get around. So it's kind of like our fractions. We've got to think opposite here. Minute is a longer word though. So I can fill the word minute in here and I can fill the word hand in here. So it's just a way, that's going to be a way that I typically try to remember it if I'm having a hard time. But the minute has to go, there's more minutes in an hour, so it's longer. It's got to reach those minute lines, whereas the hour hand is just pointing to those large numbers here. So I did find a website here on Math Learning. It's just like the coin one, it's just like the fraction one, but it's going to be a clock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the geared hands, and what that means is it's going to practice like our clock in class. If I did the other option, and I go to clock, and I did a free moving hands, what that one's going to allow me to do is I can move the minute hand and I can move the hour hand separately. Here, notice as I move the minute hand, do you see that hour hand is changing? So if I'm at 12 o'clock right now, as I get to 12:01, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can notice it's moving ever so slightly. Watch as I continue to move around the clock. When I get to this halfway point, it's about halfway in between 12 and 1 o'clock. It hasn't reached the 1 o'clock yet, so it is 12:30. As I keep going, it's going to look like it's pointing to that one right about here. We might think that that's 1:50, but we need to think that we are almost to that next hour. See where, oh, I'm pointing on the screen. See where this 10 is up here? It is almost getting to that next o'clock. So we haven't quite reached that until it goes right directly across it. So even when I get all the way up to here, you want to be extra careful and make sure that you're paying attention. Okay, would this be 1:59 or 12:59. It's almost at that hour, but it's not quite there. So as we get there, now we can say it's officially 1 o'clock. So as you're exploring, I did send out on your choice board, there is a file here that has a print out clock, which I really enjoyed this one because it shows all of the minutes for us to practice. And then it has these minute and hour hands. Typically we would put a brad in the middle so that you could move them around. If you don't have any brads, I don't have any here at my house, you could just use them independently and just kind of move them around as you can. It just gives you a way to practice the time. We do time stamps. I can't remember what I called it last year, but timestamp or time check. So I would say, all right, time check, and everybody have to go run and look at the clock and tell me what time it is and put it on a sticky note and then come and show it to me. So what you could do opposite is you have those digital clocks at home. So have somebody say time check throughout the day. You go check the time that the digital clock says. So right now it's 11:20, and then on your analog clock, make 11:20 and ask them to check it to see if they agree with you. So that's one way extra to practice, or again, practice on here. You can do the same thing with this tool here. They could say 11:20. Okay, so I need to get my hour hand, so now I can move. Notice how I'm moving the hour hand. Look how fast the minute hand is moving. I want to get it to 11 o'clock, and then I want to move it to 11, 5, 10, 15, 20. So that's one way that you could practice as well. I did want to share that with you. There are many ways to practice telling time, and it is a very important skill. So with this, you can get an app from the for your iPad if you want to. Again, there's even a way for us to look at fractions of a clock. So you might have heard of a quarter hour. So you could say it is half past or a quarter until. Those types of vocabulary words are other things that you can practice. There's other tools down here that you can use. Once you have your clock on here, and you give it a specific time, let's say we're just going to do that time, there are some other options down here. Now I've got a digital clock showing me what time that is, and I can check that. There's also, which those are a little bit too low for you to be able to see, but it can also, you can practice jumping by fives, things like that. You can just have it as a stopwatch. So there's some cool features on here that you can practice with the parts of a clock, especially since we won't get that hands-on practice in class. I thought it would be a good one for you to be able to practice that and review that skill this week. With that, with this activity here, I did post it, and you might be trying to do one of these. So I want to remind you that if you are on this hand tool, you can select your image, and we're going to click these three dots and we're going to unlock it. And then that's going to allow me to be able to rotate it back so I can see it the proper way. I meant to do that before I posted it, and then I totally forgot. What the tool here, I would use your highlight tool so you can still see the time underneath it. And then choose each one. So here it says start. We're going to try to find the 11:59. So remember, it's going to look like it's almost to 12 o'clock, but it's not going to be quite. So I can see here, this looks like it's 11:59, but this is actually before the 11. So this would be 10:59. So I need to find the one that matches, and I'm going on a hunt. I'm looking for another one. Here we go. I'm 1 minute away from 12 o'clock. So this is going to be the one. So then you just go ahead and circle that and color that one in. For your next time, choose a different color. Highlight it. See if you can find 106. See if you can find it. Looking for the hour hand towards the one. That's going to be our shorter hand, and then our minute hand as well. This looks pretty close. I see that the hour hand is pointing to the 1. See that the minute hand is pointing just past the 1, which is 5, and then one more. There's my 106. All right, same thing with the rest of them. You're just going to go through, color them all different colors, and color the matching clock. Sorry, I got lost in my sentence there for some reason. I hope that you guys enjoy studying clocks. Like I said, it is a important skill. You were exposed to it before. You've had a lot of practice with it before, but now it's just time to be even more accurate with it. So practice this activity today. Let me know how you do. If you have any other ideas that you want to share with me, please do.